Two blokes walk into a bar, order drinks, sit down and have a pleasant evening. Hello, I'm Adam Paul Morgan and thank you for clicking onto what is a vlogging Adam video, where I talk about the this, what, the general what's nots and what you've been going on. I may have mucked that one up there for what I normally come out with. However, I've noticed something in my Blu-ray and DVD collection. I've noticed I'm starting to pick up a lot of media discs, as it were, that have not been watched, that are still unwrapped, shall we say. Example, this is one of my favourite films of all time, Wallace and Gromit and the Curse of the Were Wabbit. And I've still not... I've seen the film, I've seen it loads of times before. However, I've still in the wrapper. Now, it's not just Blu-rays and DVDs, for example. I've got this. It's I Am Ozzy, read by Frank Skinner, which is one of the audio books that are out there. There's many out there. I've actually read the book but not listened to the audio thing, hence still in the wrapper. And of course, there is some other great films on Blu-ray, which I have as well. This is one as an example. Silence of the Lambs. I thought I'd get this out as Halloween is coming up just round the corner. Silence of the Ram, the 5 Oscar-winning film for Best Actor, Best Film, Best blah, 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 blah. Do the research, you'll find out. It's a brilliant film. Yeah, I've watched it a couple of times when it was first broadcasted on television. I'm not that old, am I? When it was broadcasted on television many, many moons ago, I watched it then. But of course, still in the wrapper. As Halloween's coming up, I might sit down and watch this with a wife. It is a fantastic film, and out of all the Hannibal Lecter films, it's definitely the best one. Yet I've not watched this particular disc. I was given that for Christmas many moons ago. And of course, it's not just my part of the DVD collection that are unwatched. These are a lot of the wife's films that... Oh, actually. Wife censored. Any material shown here could get me in trouble with the wife. There's a lot of my DVDs and Blu-rays that have not been watched yet. Like, for instance, the Tom Hardy and starring Tom Hardy film Legend as well. I haven't watched this one just yet because, for one reason or another, Who Framed Roger Rabbit has not been watched up. I'll tell you, I've cried and cried at the first 8 minutes of that. Mulan is on... rubbish. The Hunchback of... Rubbish. Sleeping Beauty, let's be honest, I'm not the target audience for that particular film as well. Dumbo, how does he learn to fly? He gets drunk the night before and learns to fly like most pilots, I do believe. And no, that's a legend rubbish joke. Of course, Alice in Wonderland, which has now been ruined by Tim Burton. I thought that the remake was rubbish. Fantasia didn't do too well, but of course, you've noticed all these are the Disney films, which will be, and Pinocchio as well. There we go. I think it's quite bad how they depict the whale as the bad guy in that film. Oh yeah, how many bad whales do you know? Look at the eyes. Look how angry he is there. But that's just the film and the story. Why? So, you know, I imagine most people are getting into this scenario now, not just myself and myself, because none of these belong to my wife. You know, what brings us onto this array of unwatched media discs, Blu-rays, DVDs, etc. It's probably because everything's been streamed now. But I've said this many times before, I'm a bit old-fashioned. I like to sort of look at a shelf. I like to pick out a particular film and place it in the disc, put the disc in, wait for it to load up, watch the trailers, but you can skip them now with some of these Disney ones. But I don't know, maybe I'm a little bit old-fashioned now. And yes, I do stream films lately. What was the latest film that I watched streaming-wise? Room. Oh, that was a tearjerker, that was. Oh, get your tissues ready, not for that reason, but for the other reason, for that film. Oh, I was in bits in that one. And Spotlight, I've just recently watched that film on streaming, so maybe I'm catching up with modern generations now that, hopefully not, that these things don't become a thing of the past. There's something I've been thinking about for quite a while now, and that's the Apple earpods, which these look similar to these but without the wires and maybe a bit bigger, etc. Now, I've got a lot of issues with these particular types of earphones, etc. Okay, now with these earpods, I had to look it up this morning, it's currently £150 for these Bluetooth headsets. Now, obviously they're doing this for the iPhone 7 where there's no sockets where you plug into the other end, of course, and I think I've used a Bluetooth headset of many different brands over the years, and I say they're really good. So the idea of using Bluetooth headsets, yeah, not a problem. The only problem I've got with the ear pods, or the AirPods I should say, which again look quite similar to these things but without the wires, is you could lose one of them. And we've all been there, we're listening to music or an audiobook or a podcast, and one of the earphones and the earpods or what have you doesn't work. Now imagine if you've lost one of the £150 earpods, so you just have to listen to the one. That's my first issue with them. The second issue is obviously the cost. I suppose £159 is a lot of money. Prices may vary different country to country, but that's a lot of money, I think. And plus you've got to charge them up. Problem number 3, you've got to charge these things up, and of course it will like the old cassette goes when you're listening to music. I'm not talking to Wales, but that, you know, the old days, if you had a Walkman and the battery was going, the tape would slow down. With these, the battery would have bing gone, and you've got to charge them up, and that's something I've had with Bluetooth headsets myself. But again, the Bluetooth headsets for listening to music when you're out and about are very good, and some majority of them do double up as a wireless headset as well. That does work a very big problem. The biggest problem I have, and I will not be purchasing a pair ever in my life because of these earphones like that, the biggest problem I have with these, we've all got it, earwax. It wasn't quite that long ago that Stephen Fry stepped down from host of QI, which is a brilliant program. I enjoy watching it. It's one of my favourite shows on TV at the moment. It's very good and very funny as well. And there's a rule in my household: there will be silence when QI is on the television, because I want to listen and learn and be entertained as well. But of course, as the news was going around the internet, etc., and on the national newspapers and all sorts of things, Stephen Fry stepped down from presenter, or the main presenter of the show. And it was like, basically your favourite teacher at school was leaving. You learn that your favourite teacher and a good teacher was leaving school. I had the experience of having a lot of teachers when I was at school, so I really enjoy QI. You learn quite a bit. It doesn't really get you anywhere, but did you know such and such and such? But of course, the QI, the new presenter, it was, who was it going to be? Who could replace Stephen Fry? Some of the people I thought was going to be was the comedian Bill Bailey. I've seen him live, and he's very quick and very witty. He could have done a good job. I thought Alan Davis as well. I don't know why I put Alan Davis on there. Of course, maybe John Cleese, or the original person who they thought would host the show, Michael Palin of Monty Python, was to host the show. But of course, who better than Sandy Toksvig? Of course, out of all the people in the whole world, who could replace Stephen Fry? And they've picked the most perfect person. So I think we're quite lucky that she agreed to host the program QI, because I cannot think of a single person who better to present the show. It could not be as good as Stephen Fry, we don't know. But there is a clip going around that's been put out by the BBC of Alan Davis saying to Sandy Toksvig, "You're in the right chair." And I think she'll do an absolute fantastic job. We don't know. We'll find out later in the... I'll probably do it in my next Vlogging Adam video coming up next week, of course. But for now, what do you think about the hoo-ha, the this, that, and the general what do you do? I'm Adam Paul Morgan, and ta-ra a bit.